Everybody have a pen, pencil, notes? So we're going to deal with the writ of discovery and disclosure, and we're going to deal with concept points. This is the major writ that shut down Citibank and a few of the banks with their foreclosures, and they're trying to start them back up again. They're trying to start them back up again because the economy will collapse, but it's still corrupt. They're starting it up again for closing because the economy is collapsing. You know, nevertheless, it's a fraud, and that's the major thing, proved. And the major reason for the writ is to save a lot of Moors from being on the street, because it's your stuff anyway. You know, and ultimately, as this thing begins to collapse, the ultimate cure for this whole thing in North America and the world anyway is nationalization. Yeah. And they're trying to avoid it, but it's going to come to that irregardless. You know, it's not necessarily what you want, what we want, what anybody wants. It's what it's going to be. You know, and so the deal of it is, we're the least politically active people, and so we need some heavyweight tools quick, particularly our people. And it's kind of hard because we haven't been used to this kind of stuff. We've been used to dealing with beliefs. Now we're going to have to deal with knowledge, because that's what's going to save the world. Fine.
I have a question. While I was on the healing retreat,
say it loud because it's going to take.
when I was on a healing retreat last week, the facilitator just happened to hear it on the news, something about the UN, not New York, indicated that the lands would be returned to the indigenous people.
Yes. Now, if everybody's been paying attention, right, remember we talked about Sister Rose before? The rights of indigenous people. Everybody, who has the book?
I have.
They'll show the book. Come up with this.
That's what he said.
Yes. Now, introduce yourself.
Peace, Islam. I am Ra, Mason, Fire, I am El. Islam. Rights of the indigenous people.
Yes. And we're going to expand on this. This is what Obama signed. That's what the Europeans are upset about. We've been telling people this for 25 years. But basically, this is what he signed. And so it'll start getting people to pay attention to what we've been saying so they can stop thinking it's just merely our opinion. And if you listen to some of the talk radio shows like Rush Limbaugh and what's the guy's name? John Day. Yeah. Complain about saying Obama's trying to send the honkies back home and all that stuff. That's the European position. Yeah.
Well, if they want to be sovereign, they can't do it here. They got to go home.
And see, the real deal is, that's the point. But it need not be like that. It need not be like that. They need to just act right and stop. Yes.
Technically, according to the treaty, we are their friends in commerce.
Yes.
If they would treat us with respect, we could get along. But because they want to be corrupt and act with trickery and debauchery, then now we have to pull out our cards.
Remember when we talked before?
Yes.
Put it back sometime.
Yes.
Concept. When you understand who you are and who they are, you understand the law.
Yes.
When you're not clear, you can't understand the law.
You cannot stand on your square if you do not know these things.
And you must be yourself. That's why Raleigh said, how did he begin to start uplifting the Moorish Americans? By teaching them to be themselves. Why? Because without being yourself in fact and in law, you cannot be claimed to an estate because you are in dishonor of your mothers and your fathers. This is where nationality plays a vital role on the planet. We're not just talking about the process, what's done to protect the rights of people. We're talking about divine law translated into civilization, and that's what that principle is. Honoring your mothers and your fathers, that your days may be longer upon the earthland which the Lord thy God Allah hath given thee. And that's the truth.
Not long ago, I was engaged in a dialogue with a fellow sovereign who said to me that being sovereign and knowing the law had nothing, just didn't have any benefits. There was, what good did, his exact words was, what good does it do to be sovereign unless I'm in a legal battle or a lawful battle? There's no benefit to it. And I felt sorry for that brother. I truly did, because to him to be sovereign and yet not recognize the benefits.
See, this is what must be understood.
He has his papers.
No, stop. I had a conversation. Of course, we talked last night. I'm sure persons in the room, some of them recognize conversations I had last night. That's what I told you before. You're sitting over there.
Yes.
Make this very clear. Sovereignty cannot be bought, and it cannot be sold. It's not something that can be packaged. Everyone lift up your left arm. Expose your wrist. Take these two fingers like this. Feel your pulse. Calm down. Feel that beat of the universe. That's called blood, and the political nature of that is called consanguinity. The descendant nature from your ancient mothers is called your nativity. That's called nationality. Inheritances, and thus the sovereignty of your nativity is in the blood. It's a birthright. Can't be bought. It's unalienable. Can't be transferred to another. Papers don't make it. Your mother did. Once you get that through your brain, you understand why Noble Drawley wrote humanity on the womb of woman on your questionnaire. Because that's the Holy Grail. Now, what papers you say he had? Concept.
Yes.
If a person denies nationality and is arguing sovereignty, it's like this. Because they go together, which means he lacks understanding. And 9 times out of 10, he was convinced by someone that you could buy a package and be sovereign. Or hold 2 silver dimes, and now you got it. Gold bar. You with? Well, guess what? Don't mean a thing if you ain't got that swing. You got to honor your mother, and you got to know your mother, and you got to declare your mother.
And that brings me to a question. Based on something you and I were speaking of over the phone and for the tape, I just want to make sure that I'm clear and understand. In the admiralty law.
Admiralty, yes.
Yes. Cargo. In terms of, okay, in my lawsuit against the persons, the judicial system for my son, I am standing that because by birth, I birthed him, he is my cargo, he is my property, my real property,
yes.
And he has been stolen or whatever.
Bring your book and come up here.
Which book?
Rights of Indigenous People. And remember, this is the law that all the nations have signed on to, and as you recall, Bush and boys, those prior to Obama, wouldn't sign it. Neither would Britain. Why? Because they're the 2 major colonial operators on the planet that are destroying the people and the planet. They're obligated, being members of the United Nations, but they've been the beneficiaries of the fraud that has turned the world upside down. That's why they wouldn't sign it. You understand? This is why the Knights in the Democratic Party, as well as the Republican Party, were undermining Obama. You must understand and start looking at the politics from a totally different point of view than you have been. Now, this is what I want you to read. The argument you made is certainly moral and certainly ethical.
Okay.
Now, let's talk about what their obligations are, all right?
Well, here's the question. Another sovereign told me that it was so far.
Stop saying that.
Okay, another.
Qualified. No, qualified.
Oh,
come on.
God.
Come on.
All right,
No,
another
no.
Aboriginal indigenous.
Let me place this at you. Sovereign is not a title given. It's almost like it's giving sovereignty a validity within itself. It doesn't stand by itself. There's no such thing as a sovereign that stands by itself without being prerequisited with a nationality or the supreme identity.
Well, then I can't qualify for him.
No, this is what you would say. This is what you would say, because I want you to really understand. This is why I brought it to your attention. You would say, if you're talking nations, it would be Chinese or Manchurian sovereign, or somebody from Iranian sovereign.
Okay.
There's no, that doesn't stand on its own.
Yes.
It doesn't stand on its own. And I recognize that a lot of people have been using it like that,
Yes.
thinking that it does.
Yes.
Well, guess what? It doesn't. And the reason I'm telling you that, because everybody needs to understand that, because people are throwing that word around loosely and think you can be sovereign. You know, it's a title or designation that does not stand on its own without support of nationality, which means the nationality must be there for the sovereignty to be claimed. The sovereignty does not arrive on its own. Not in the civilized planet. This planet called Earth.
Well, then another Moor.
No, Moorish sovereign. But
Moorish
the point
sovereign.
of it is, this is the key. And I'm saying this to you, you know what? Because the conversation indicates there's not clarity. And so, if someone wants to say
If he calls himself a Moorish sovereign, I have to trust that brother.
I'm not denying that. I'm not even dismissing that. My concern is that your concept is right.
Yes.
All right. Any civilized person from any nation who's sovereign does not go around wearing a chip on their shoulder talking about sovereignty. They simply declare their nationality, and sovereignty is automatic. For someone to be pushing that out indicates ego, vanity, lack of understanding, boisterousness, and how would you say, immature in what the subject matter is. Because someone who understands will look at, what is this lunchbox trying to prove? Do you understand what I'm saying to you?
Yes.
It's like you walking up here and you're saying, Brother Taj, remember who's talking? I want to prove you my womanhood. You really don't have to. You know, you really think that you do? Maybe you do. If you get the point.
Yes.
And you kind of look at it that way.
Yes.
And you could help him by toning that down. Because I'll tell you, when you go before the rest of the civilized world and you come like that, they're going to look at you like, oh boy, somebody gave him some bakers last week and he's impressed with himself.
Yes.
Because it's so naive to present yourself like that.
He's one of the people who was one of my teachers.
Yes,
So
I'm not knocking it. Do you understand?
Yes, I do.
I'm clarifying something.
Yes.
Meaning that don't exercise that practice in front of other civilized people because they won't take you serious.
Well, my question is, will the courts take me seriously?
Sure.
If I tell them that Justin is my property?
All right, now, don't even go there. Don't even go there. Come on.
I've already made him my property through a security agreement, which is not yet on record. So You understand what you comprehend? It's not on record yet.
Well, let me say this
but
to you.
through the agreement, he is now my chattel property.
But not now. He was never not yours. You know, the whole concept, remember this. I want you to know and understand this. This whole concept that you're coming back into, right, is understanding that the fraud never becomes true. You never become a Moor. You always were. He never belonged to the state. They only claimed that to be so.
Yes.
When you reclaim or your birthright, you're proclaiming it to the world. That's all the purpose that your documents serve. They're not an application. They're not a motion. They are affidavits of fact presenting to the world that you are not to be assumed to be Christian property. And understand, we're not meaning Christianity as far as the spiritual development that people associate with it. It's a political system to Europeans. And when they approach you with Christian, Muslim, Jew type presentments, understand they're never looking at it from a spiritual perspective. They want you to think that. It's always political domination or mind control only. And when you think it's other than that, you're in trouble. You understand? Now, I want you to read. This is Rights of Indigenous People. I see you've been writing all over it. You've been working it.
Pulling all-nighters.
And I'm going to come back to you on the issue that you're talking about.
Because I really need to know.
Yeah, concept. Now I want you to read part 2, 6. Read it into the camera, read it loud. Read it as if the children are sitting here. You're the teacher, mother.
Part 2, Article 6. Indigenous people have the collective right to live in freedom, peace, and security as distinct people and to full guarantees against genocide or any other act of violence, including the removal of indigenous children from their families and communities under any pretext.
You already have it in your hand. That's the law.
So if a judge tries to say
you don't have to argue.
I don't have to argue with him.
Well, that's the law. Don't hit them with a moral argument because they're not moral.
Yes.
Don't argue with them on ethics. They're not ethical.
Yes.
Remember this, and we talk about this all the time, right? What is our weakness as far as breaking habits? We keep forgetting that they are colonists. What else did you expect from a colonist but exploitation? So if you're appealing to their morals, your concepts are wrong.
But if I hit them with law, they can't do anything about it.
Let's back up. Noble Drew Ali said what? In the divine warning to the nations. All of you who love a free national government, help me in my mission to bring my people back into the constitutional fold of government. Right?
Yes.
And to enforce the Constitution, our Constitution, of the United States of America.
And going to Barack Obama and the Constitution, do you know he's only the business manager, owner, whatever you want to call it? I don't even know if I have the right language for it.
He's CEO.
He's the CEO of the corporation.
There you go.
According to the Constitution.
We
the people.
are now,
Yes.
we've got to what? Start acting like ourselves. Stop talking about ourselves from a third-party perspective. Know what your rights are and enforce it. So now when you read that, right? Keep this in mind. Article 6 of the Constitution, right? To which they are bound by oath, right? All debts and contracts entered into before the adoption of this Constitution shall be binding against the United States under this Constitution as under the Confederation. And and all treaties made or which shall be made under the authority or in pursuance thereof shall be what? The supreme law of the land. Hit them with the law. You got it. All right? You need to debate the room with that full.
Right.
Hit them with the law. Remember, keep this in mind. Obligation, obligation, obligations.
Am I taking it right through admiralty?
Let me tell you this.
Is admiralty, you think, the best
No,
way, or the Constitution?
No. Listen. The admiralty is because they're operating under war powers.
Well, for the international.
If they're operating under the war powers.
Right.
All right? Now, all debts and engagements entered into before the adoption of that Constitution, which means they're bound to this before the Constitution was even adopted. What's your nationality?
What is my nationality? I'm a Moorish American.
Oh, well then, since when did the law change? Didn't know Charlie said in the Bible warning, since the Constitution has not changed, the 14th and 15th Amendment not necessary for the salvation of my people and citizens. At what point are we going to carry out the law and stop letting Europeans get us off track and think we got to go someplace else to claim something that already exists? You get the point?
I do.
Concept.
Concept, got it.
All
Thank
right.
you, Ashe.
So they can't make some other law and therefore claim a right that never existed with them. You see? And it's the same principle that the Supreme Court said with 16th Amendment, which is color of law, that the Inquisition revenue servants are using against people. And the Congress said what? The 16th Amendment gave Congress no new taxing powers. Go read the law. That's why I did confused about taxes. You understand? Give them the law. Don't debate with them. Don't make a moral arguments don't win court cases. Keep that in mind.
Yes. Strictly the law.
Take emotions, dump them. And remember this. They're always going to try to trick you into going into a fraudulent venue in order to say that you've consented or waived your right. So you need to go into the laws of the seas just because they're acting like honeys?
I figured the way that I
No, you
calculated-
figured, I don't, respectfully, you figured what you
the
heard.
Constitution and the
You
treaties,
figured,
the
you
admiralty
figured
law.
what you heard because someone convinced you.
No.
No, listen to what I'm saying to you. As you study, and you've seen positions that different people have taken trying to get back to the Republic, mostly Europeans. Now they want the Republic back, and acknowledging that they've been operating under admiralty law, bringing a law of the waters into the land.
Yes.
Of
That's
the seas
treason
onto the land.
against the government, actually.
The government is the people.
Which is us. We
All
are the
right,
people.
now look, these people who are doing this are called Democrats, aren't they? They call them democracy? Huh? Article 4, Section 4 of the Constitution, what does it establish? A Republican form of government for every state in the Union. So are they government officials?
No, actually they're not.
No, not actually. You don't even need to qualify that.
No, they're not.
Don't need to qualify it.
They're frauds.
They
They're
are,
foreign agents.
write this down.
Title 22, subsection 611 of the Uniform Commercial Code calls them foreign agents because they are foreign agents working in a
when something is foreign and they're introducing foreign law, they're what?
imposters.
Well, that's what your suit is based on. You see? You see? It's just common sense.
It's Title 22, Chapter 11, Subchapter 11, and subsection 611 claims them as foreign agents. And a foreign agent is anyone who who is acting in the interest of a foreign country in the host, as a host in another country. So that's them.
So now, what occurs when you agree with a fraudulent venue under the auspices or under the claim or the alleged claim of trying to claim a right that's inalienable? Can an inalienable or unalienable right be converted into a crime or converted into a licensable privilege? Then would you need to go into another venue to claim a right that is yours by birth?
No.
Did that judge and those officers of the states take an oath to uphold the Constitution?
They did take an oath.
Is that what they're bound to?
They are bound to the oath, but the moment they took the oath, it became admiralty.
Yes,
The
I'm
oath
saying.
took them to an admiralty law.
Yes, but I'm just saying. Are they bound to that?
Yes.
All right. Now, are you a U.S. citizen? You start looking sideways. Too slow to answer.
I am a citizen of the United States of the Republic of Morocco, the empire, not the
Well, you should have said that the first time. Just should have paused. And that's not the question I asked you. I asked you, are you a U.S. citizen? You should have
No,
said
I'm
no.
not.
It's fine, sis.
It's all original people, what you just said.
No, sis.
All original people Moors, no matter where they are.
You like this? You been called black, Latino, Puerto Rican, light skin, orange skin, green girl?
Right, I'm asking that for a specific reason. So if you are from somewhere else, say you're from Jamaica,
You're still more.
Yeah.
but you want to come on this part of the world.
No, stop. Concept. Now listen. The Moroccan Empire, ancient Amexem, which is the ancient, true, and divine name of Africa.
Is what?
Amexem.
A maximum?
Amexem. Listen, I need you to pay close attention, particularly because you get your concepts right. That's the ancient true name of Africa.
Okay.
Africa is the modern name, and on the west side, America is the contemporary name.
Okay.
Now, the Moroccan Empire includes northeast and southwest of Mexico across the Great Atlantis, even into North, Central, and South America, and the Atlantis Islands.
Okay, but if you were here at one time, right? I'm just saying.
You're
on
missing.
This side, on this side.
You're missing.
No bad reason.
Now, let me bring something to your attention. No, I understand where you're going. I'm trying to get you to start listening,
Okay.
because you're not. And we're trained that way. You must understand it's not an insult. I just gave you the parameters of the Moroccan Empire, and you keep acting like you came someplace else that's not your home.
No, I'm not talking
Your
about
conversation says that you're not acknowledging your inherited land. That's a problem.
Okay.
Now, come up here, please. Anybody got a Holy Koran?
I do.
Circle 7? Bring it up.
Oh,
And put your Teflon sneaks on and just do a moonwalk right
I'm
over here.
Muslim, so I have a regular brand. But I have the other one too.
Oh, you got one too? Well, come on. You got one already, sis. Come on.
I think. Mine is your house. Oh, you want that one? That's so long.
Concept. Now, we're going to camera and talk to the rest of the family. Now listen. Before I came over on this side of the street, I walked across that side of the street. Just got off the trolley. Was that someplace else on my planet or
And I don't
my parents?
understand what you mean by
All right. Now, I want you to read this chapter.
my glasses. Yeah.
Oh, wait, hold on. I got you covered. Oh, yeah, I got you covered. It's ordinary.
So, just to ask you a question, if you on this side of Africa, or Mexico, is for me to say that I was deported back over there?
Now,
that was my
you
question.
would be saying that because you would be going by what is called European psychological displacement.
Okay.
That has nothing to do with truth.
Okay. So that was my, I understood about
let's put it
us
this
being
way. Let's put it
America's
this way.
all being one land.
Let's put it this way. Is North America Europe?
Yes. North America was part of Europe, I guess? No.
I want you to get the copy of this film.
Well, no, this is my first meeting with my mother. I'm Sheila's daughter, so it's my first meeting. So
Well, I'm sure your mother was straightening you out.
okay, sit down. Right? I'm not
Last
going
one.
I'm not going to where I gotta learn.
Come on down. Yeah.
I'm not
Now read that
afraid.
chapter.
I get your glasses on. I age with these glasses. Now, what you want me to read?
I want you to read this chapter.
Okay.
And I want you to pay attention to the words, please.
Okay. Egypt.
Say it loud because you're in the camera.
Egypt, the capital empire of the Dominion of Africa. 1. The inhabitants of Africa are the descendants of the ancient Canaanites from the land of Canaan. 2. Old man Cush and his family are the first inhabitants of Africa who came from the land of Canaan. 3. His father Ham and his family were second. Then came the word Ethiopia, which means demarcation line of the dominion of Amexem, the true first and divine name of Africa, the dividing of the land between the Father and the Son. 4. The dominion of Cush, northeast and southeast Africa, and northwest and southwest was his father's dominion of Africa. 5. In later years, many of their brethren from Asia and the Holy Lands joined them. 6. The Moabites from the land of Moab, who received permission from the pharaohs of Egypt to settle and inhabit northwest Africa. They were the founders and are the true possessors of the present Moroccan Empire, with their Canaanite, Hittite, and Amorite brethren who sojourned from the land of Canaan seeking new homes. Okay.
Read on.
Oh, no, not
You needed to read it.
7. Their dominion and inhabitation extended from northeast and southwest Africa across the great Atlantis, even unto the present North, South, and Central America, and also Mexico and the Atlantis Islands before the great earthquake, which caused the great Atlantic Ocean.
Now stop right there.
Right, because I'm going to ask you a question.
Now, the Atlantis Islands includes Jamaica, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
Includes all of the islands, Borican, Dominica, etc., etc. Those are the Atlantis Islands.
Right.
That's the Moroccan Empire.
Right.
What's your nationality?
No, mine. I'm a Moor.
Well, yes.
But what my question is this, which I was going to ask you. Okay, like you said, psychological brainwash from Europeans about you being leaving, going back over to Jamaica. Now, how do you get back over here?
When you say how do you get back over here, that's not the subject first.
Well, that's what the question I was trying to ask.
That's second to you affirming that you're home.
Okay, right.
Your argument would be wrong. Now, Rights of indigenous people, am I correct?
Yes.
Can you bring that up, sis?
And I've accepted a big this marriage, but I was just wondering, how can you get back once?
Now, come on.
This is my sister friend.
Yes.
Let me
Help
try.
your sister
Let me
friend.
try to.
We're gonna share peanut butter sandwiches with
Help
you.
me. Listen, you've helped me.
Excuse me, sister. He's in his homeland
I already
because
know
it
that.
all belongs to us. In terms of him getting back, it's just a matter of his right to travel, which is in the United States Constitution that says that this shall not be abridged. It's
And I understand that, but when you are, even though you're saying that.
Read 2 and read 3. Now, and help her out. And interject when you feel like it. Now,
But you know
we're
that
going
I've
to
already
discuss
said
that.
this. I
Read
just
this.
wanted you to tell me something.
Read this. Read this.
Indigenous people have the right to the full and effective enjoyment of all human rights and fundamental freedoms recognized in the Charter of the United Nations, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and international human rights law. Indigenous individuals and peoples are free and equal to all other individuals and peoples in dignity and rights, and have the right to be free from any kind of adverse discrimination, in particular that based on their indigenous origin or identity.
Now read it before. Now keep in mind, and keep in mind why we're encouraging you to sue and giving you preliminary instructions, changing the way you think, changing your language, preparing you to have your proper arguments when someone counters you or interrupts you or interferes with you with a color of law claiming to be national or international when it is absolutely not.
Okay.
And then look at what they're obligated to, and then understand that Obama signed this, not that they weren't obligated before. Now they're really obligated.
Wow, now see.
Now read number 4, like I told you.
Article 4. Indigenous people have the right to maintain and strengthen their distinct political, economic, social, and cultural characteristics, as well as their distinct political, economic, social, and cultural life of the state.
All right, what's your nationality?
More.
Then you have a state,
And
don't
they
you?
are to the
Wait,
job.
you have a state, don't you?
Yes.
Your nationality creates a political state. They're violating the acts of state. They're in violation of national and international law.
Right, so what I'm asking is how would you go about it? If you want to create a...
No, I understand what you were asking me. I
I
understood what you were asking me the very first time.
Okay.
What I'm saying to you, until we get your concepts correct, which means we're not here, we're not debating this. If Brother Rick is a customs agent, right? Your argument probably would be weak.
Well,
If you understood what you just
I
read,
do understand.
you would tell him, chill out, go get your manager. And then when they start acting like lunch, you just simply call the FBI and you call Secretary of State and you tell them to get them in order. Also, you get their names because you're getting ready to sue them.
Oh, okay. That's,
You-
I just want to
No,
know
but-
how would I handle the situation going
This
forward.
lets you know what your obligations are to your own rights. So before you're going to exercise these things, you need to know about them.
Right.
That's why you need to study yourselves. You need to understand what nationality is. You don't just say, if I say what your nationality is, and you say Moorish American, and then I say, well, give me an idea of acts of state, how would you respond if some other national challenges your position? That's a cross jurisdiction. That's a violation of international law.
Okay.
But you need to know that.
Right, and I do
Now,
know, I just wanted to
understand
know how
this.
you would handle it.
Understand
Yeah,
this.
that's-
Listen to what I'm saying to you. Understand this. What's happening here and what's happening around this country with people beginning to learn about nationality and birthright is what needs to be in place before you can take the next step to counter them.
Okay.
Meaning the understanding that we're trying to impart to you needs to be a natural part of you, whether you came to this class or not. And when they approach you in any kind of way relative to visas and stuff like that, you would know how to respond. That's why you're here. That's why I'm having you read those things. You need to soak it in your head. If you have a problem, then we will say to you, oh, sister, go ahead and put a writ in. And not expecting you to have a long conversation because your concepts will be right. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because once you understand how to write writs, you already know what their obligations are. Keep this in mind. Obligations, obligations, obligations. You must know what their obligations are, and you must know what your birthrights are. That's why you always say, I need, I want, I desire for my people to know the truth and the divine truth.
Right.
Learn the truth about your nationality and your birthright, and you'll have the tools to defend against that beast. As a matter of fact, in due time, we're going to dismiss all that crap.
Can I put this on the record?
Yes, you can, sis.
Where can I get this book?
Oh, Rosalind should be here later on. She might have one, maybe not, but you'll be able to get it. Just keep
So you're saying that when I go after this situation?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, what you're going to do, you're going to learn what you can. Keep notes. Pay attention to every detail. When I'm approaching you, I'm not picking on you. No, listen, I'm giving you a mirror. But I recognize this is training that we all have, and we don't pay attention to details. So we're going to be pushing you to pay attention to details. Okay. Get used to it. Okay. Now, when you do, and then you're going to get certain key points of law and obligation. And then after a while, it'll just come to your mind like that. Don't worry, it will. It will. Now listen, when you go out into the world, unbeknownst to you at this time, the rest of the civilized world expects you to know these things naturally. It's not even a debate. It's only a debate when it comes to people who are called Negroes, black and colored, Puerto Ricans and stuff like that, because the Christians have held the information back from us because they've held us to servitude. Do you understand? Only to that degree is this information not familiar with us. But by birthright, by civil law, by civilization principle, and by international law, you're held to this standard whether you know it or not. And if you don't know it, they will dismiss you. Okay. Now, when they dismiss you, don't think it's prejudice. It's just that they would recognize that you are in what is known as a minority status, which means you have the mentality of a minor. And there's no need for them to have an intelligent conversation with you because you're a boy or girl. This is why a lot of people refer to our people as boys and girls. It's not meant to insult you, it is the truth.
Would you say, according to the Black's Law Dictionary, that a minority is equivalent to civilis mortis, which means dead to law?
No. No. It's conditional. This is what the condition is. Condition would be and with wardship tenures, they don't have to account, because if you're listed as a minority, it is the same to be listed as a minor. And in law, remember, when it comes to your unalienable rights and your right to the land, and thus your right to operating in the reason of a state.
Let me qualify this for the state, and I'm going to sit back down.
Yes.
This is Article 4, the United States Constitution. United States Constitution.
Come a little closer.
Okay. And anyone watching the tape can study this for themselves. It says, Article 4 describes the relationship between the states and the federal government and amongst the states. For instance, it requires states to give full faith and credit to the public acts, records, and court proceedings of other states. Congress is permitted to regulate the manner in which proof of such acts, records, or proceedings may be admitted. The Privileges and Immunities Clause prohibits state government from discriminating against citizens of other states in favor of resident citizens. It also establishes, here's the part for you, extradition between the states, as well as laying down a legal basis for freedom of movement and travel amongst the states.
So it must be understood
Constitution.
that you're a political state. When you don't think of yourself as a political state, you're assumed to be a ward of the state.
Okay. And if I were crafting the lawsuit, if I were crafting the spell, I would use Article 4 to get whatever I want from Jamaica back to this side.
Yeah,
Yes.
talk to each other. Now listen, what's going to be taking place?
Islam.
As a matter of fact, it is well that you have that dilemma, because you can be part of the cure. Because as you learn, oh yeah, see, as you learn, you're going to recognize that a lot of what you need is going to come from you. It will never come from European lawyers.
No, I definitely have already been through it.
But then you already understand. But there's something else you need to understand. They're part of the problem, reason why you have the problem.
Yeah.
Lord.
Thank
Islam
you.
says,
And they pay off.
oh, well, sis, make sure you get with all the other sisters that are studying, because they'll give you keys. Sister Abigail, all the sisters. And y'all get together when you can. Because when the women get this together, this thing is over. So we want to make sure that if we can, that you really get the concepts correct.
When you go
So if
into
I'm
the
redundant,
fight, do you fight alone or do you?
if I'm redundant, please be patient with me, because we're breaking spells. And understand, remember this, this is key. Everybody knows this, and that's a little bit being general, but understand this really. People around the planet understand this conversation like a drop of a hat. As a matter of fact, they look at me discussing this. It's like those, it's like saying, it's like this discussing people, do you have 2 shoes? And how many fingers do you have? 1, 2, 3. And you go through the routine. Now, someone who just knows this, wondering why I'm going through all this trouble. Because it's taken for granted, understand this concept of civilization is known by all the nations of the planet. Their citizens, from the 3rd grade, they get this. On up through college, even in poor countries. Do you understand? Surprisingly, Jamaica, I'm surprised that even though it's under British colonial powers, they're not as in park as we are here. Do you understand what I'm saying? You have a little bit more open-mindedness as to world events than they do on the North Territories. In other words, we have more political access to certain things, but as far as the international scene is concerned, the Moors in the North Gate are pretty much stagnant as far as fundamental international law knowledge. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? I would expect a little bit more from you in that area. All right? But understand the rest of the world expects all of this from us normally. And it would make us uncomfortable if we knew what they really thought about us.
Most of the other nations in the world do not respect us simply because we're not standing in our proper status.
This is because we dishonor our mothers and fathers. We don't see it that way because we're looking at from a training perspective that we're suffering from prejudice, racism, and we're arguing that, and the rest of the world looking at us like we don't want anything. But it's not really true. We don't know ourselves. But we're bound to that irregardless. See, certain things that we need to understand. There's certain things that you're held to whether you know them or not. Ignorance of the law is no excuse. In other words, no matter what you do, how you cut it, how you smooth it over, this you're not excused from. You understand what I'm saying to you? And I know, based on the way this information has been misrepresented over the decades, that a lot of people misunderstand this movement for looking at it as merely a belief system. And that's due to infiltrators who have taken seats of power and have deliberately misrepresented this movement, making people think it's religion. It's birthright. It's an inherited bloodline, consanguine principle. Religion, as far as worship, is concerned can come with it, but in fact has nothing at all to do with it whatsoever. If you was an atheist, you're still immoral. It's your birthright. It's your inherited right. You don't have to believe no kind of religion. These rights are still yours. You understand what I'm saying? And if you let someone make you think that it's something else, they're a liar and an enemy to the cause. However, it's in your interest to claim your religion. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? But it's in your interest to claim your religion because your religion gives you or secures certain rights for you in the political arena. And you need to learn how to use them also, if you understand. Now, when it comes to what religion actually is, now the other science, that's a different matter. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? So make that distinction, because understand when other people are dealing with you, these things are taken for granted, not discussed. But when they see that you're handicapped in these areas, they'll start stepping off from you. Do you understand what I'm saying? And don't think that they're being prejudiced. They're really recognizing that you have mental issues. You know, now our people don't look at it that way, but understand the rest of the civilized world does, because this is a mental issue. We're under mental servitude. We just think that we're all right. You know, it's like a person who's, you know, didn't take Ritalin in the morning. To them, they're okay. You know, like, oh, woo, they're fine. The rest of the world is looking at them like, you know, that ain't my cousin, you know, type thing. You know, really. And we don't know that, but honestly, that's how others look at you. And you'd be surprised when you talk to other nationals, when they know that you know, and if you get in a straight conversation, they'll admit that and tell you that's how people look at these people here. But they can't have the conversation with us because we like to fight. And we know Jesus too. And they don't. No, I mean, that's the attitude that our people have here. And the rest of the world looks at it like we're crazy. But they're not going to discuss it with us. They just are careful. Because we get rid of them. You know what I mean? Real quick. And they know it. Plus, we can fight. They know that too. And that's the one too. Go ahead, sister.
Brother, I'm sorry. I just want to add one more thing to the class and for the camera or for anyone who's listening.
Come on.
I
love this. You know what?
I've gone from a whimpering little something to they call me honestly, this is the beginning of it all. The United States Constitution is what they love. They, the Europeans, they love the United States Constitution. And if you learn it, and you know it, and you can stand on it, you are fighting fire with fire. Do not underestimate the United States Constitution. It is so relative, and it has changed my life. It took me from being a whimpering little mom to fire.
Right on. And this is what must be understood. Keep in mind with that Constitution, and look at this. I'll give you a key. Remember when we just talked a little while ago, and I put this up here? Fire. Fire. Yeah. All right. Remember I put that up here? Oh, the floor is open. What do you get out of that when we were conversing and I put that up there? That Constitution is binding before and against the United States. So it didn't come from them, did it?
Nope.
Do you see the point? Do you understand?
Sister, in writing, I see this. I see the federal constitution, of course, the state constitution for the individual states. I see the U.S. Constitution and the Constitution of the United States.
And the Constitution for the United States.
So
they've done like that to convolute people because they know one thing, that you do like this and people get confused because they don't teach principles. Do you understand? Now, remember how we always talk. It's important to understand that the United States is a political metaphor. Once you understand that, you begin to make distinctions, discernments, right? Mexico is the United States of America. Brazil is the United States of America. Colombia is the United States of America. Look at their official titles. You know, up here in the north, they just say the United States. Or they just use the continent name, say America. Where's the national name? Doesn't exist, does it? Because the people are asleep. You see the point? Now, that Constitution is binding against the United States. Well, if it's binding against them, who they're bound to? Those who the debts and agreements were made before the adoption. What's your nationality? Moorish American. When was the Treaty of Peace and Friendship ratified? 1787. And then the first draft of what? The Constitution was made. 1788. And finally adopted 1789. And then they brought the Europeans officially into the constitutional fold of government with the Army General named George Washington. And the Republic was established under John Hanson 8 years before. Do you understand?
It is a contract.
Now you've got it. Now you
United
understand.
States Constitution is a contract between the Moors who granted the United States
There
permission
you go.
to conduct commerce
Now
upon
you
these
understand.
lands, and the United States incorporated the United States of America.
Now you understand. We the people
Yes.
of the United States. Now pull out the fiat note dollar. Pull out the fiat note dollar. Sister, especially you. Pull out the fiat note. Oh, I hear his girl fire. You ain't paying attention. Pull out dollar.
A dollar bill.
What you call it, a dollar?
Take out a dollar bill.
Working. And then. Yes, sister.
So, with this concept of understanding that all of this land is more...
It's your inherited birthright. Now, look at this. Look at this. Hold that question, and I'm going to answer your question most completely. You take a note out too. Take out a note.
Here's the dollar.
Come here, sister. Put your Teflon skates on. I want you on camera. Because this is what's going to happen. And you know what? When people have issues and problems, and they start getting it, it makes the best teachers. You know why? Because pain's a good teacher.
Yes.
You're in pain. You know what I'm going to do if I go this thing? My skates back on. Anyway. That's what it is.
I'm sorry. That was funny.
Don't mind I'm not paying you. Please. Stop it. You see? Now look on there, right? Now you see what? A Great Seal Pyramid, right? Right? And then you see an eagle, right? Or Aquila, right? With the wings spread. And a shield on the breastplate, right? And you see 13 arrows, 13 arrows, 13 berries, 13 leaves,
Okay.
13.
13 governing you right there. 13 stars above the head of that bird, and they formulate hex alpha. Then you see that Great Seal pyramid. Now look underneath it here. It says the Great Seal, doesn't it? Look all down the bottom. Don't even tell them that way. Come on, let's not. Don't act like you got contacts now. Come on. See that underneath there. It says the Great Seal, doesn't it? Then the other one says of the United States, doesn't it? So now we want to pay attention. Of is a preposition, right? Which means a substantive connector, doesn't it? Parts of speech, pay attention. Remember, you're going to teach it to the children. Right? Now, so that means that these two seals are, you want to break the mystery? Let's break the mystery, right? These two seals are one. Whoa! It says O-N-E right in the middle, big letters. Boy, I figured that out, huh? Oh, now you're beginning to understand why we have